This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 79. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
Hello and welcome to Comic Geek Speak, episode 79. This episode is sponsored by Atomica. Atomica, God is Red, from Mercury Comics and Sal Abenanti. Atomica number 5 is going to be out November 30th, which is a change, November 30th. Number 6 will be out December 7th. Then the Atomica Book 1 God is Red trade will be out mid-December, followed by number 7 in December. And then the series will go on a bi-monthly schedule to finish out by issue 12. Atomica and Sal Abenanti, Mercury Comics, will be at New York Comic Con. Make sure you check them out. They'll have a stand there. And as we talked to Sal in a past episode, we were fortunate enough to get the first 4 issues. And most of us have read them. And we're just going to talk about it real quick about the first 4 issues. Jamie, was there anything you wanted to finish from your other review that you said?
No, there really wasn't anything I wanted to add. I mean, I thought I'd covered everything that I wanted to cover, but other than just the fact that, again, they're damn good books, and it's stuff like this that we're talking about, our indie challenge, and picking up an independent book and trying it, and I highly recommend trying this one. I know I'm going to go, as soon as 5 comes out, I'm going to go to the local store and get it.
You'll probably be working at that.
Yeah,
when it comes
I'll probably when I get there on a Wednesday, and I've been working all the Wednesdays, I'll probably go over and pull it off and put it in my pile.
Cool. This is different from a DC and Marvel book, from standard superhero fare. So don't go into this thinking that this is, something akin to JLA or Avengers or something like that.
If I had to put it with Marvel or DC, I would put it with Vertigo.
Vertigo?
I would say it was a Vertigo, along the lines, if you want to go with a superhero, along the lines of like a Swamp Thing or a John Constantine Hellblazer, or even I likened it to Sandman, is what I likened it to, with all the fables and the mythology of, but this all revolves around the Soviet Union and Russia.
Right. And it's episodic. It is. Each issue is kind of its own little unique story, but there is an underlying theme to it all. And the narrative is experimental and different. And if you're not used to that, I think this is a great way to kind of open up maybe some of your reading habits. The covers are by different artists. Alex Ross, Glenn Fabry. I love my favorite actually is the Glenn Fabry. Yeah, the number 2. Michael Turner.
That's Glenn Fabry as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is Glenn Fabry, Michael Turner on 4. On the back of 1, there's even a John Romita Sr., which Kevin saw.
Yeah, that was on number 4, the back cover of number 4.
Mm-hmm. And, even the storytelling and the panel layouts are something that I wasn't even used to every now and then. Big 2-page splashes, and you have... Who's Steve Rude? Back cover on, what number is that?
Number 1.
Number 1. And he was smart. He said, I'm going to put some artists out there that people enjoy, and if that gets them to sell the book, well, I'm okay. He said he's okay with that. And but he's got something really interesting here and unique, and we're giving it a chance, and I think, and people on the forum have been giving it a chance.
Yeah, which is very cool.
What do you think about the read?
I liked it. The first issue, it took me a few pages or so until I started to get used to the art style and the writing style. Mm-hmm. But once I did, and once I got into it, and then I had read a few issues, and the story was really evolving into this much bigger thing, is certainly unique. And I'm a big fan of history, especially world history, and tapping into the history of the Soviet Union was fascinating for me.
Yeah, if you think about like parallels to Thor and all the the Norse gods, this is just all basically the Soviet Union, Russian gods, Technology became their god because of, I think, who was it that... Stalin, Marx? I forget who he said. Stalin? Was it Stalin?
Stalin, probably.
Yeah. Lenin.
Yeah, he was the start of the whole communist
Well,
movement.
no, I know that, but I thought it was Stalin in the comic who was kicking
remember.
it off. I don't remember.
And he said basically, there is no such thing as a religion. Technology is your religion, and then the whole thing of God created man, now man created God. That's where you get Atomica from. He's now the new god of this age, this technical age. And the packaging is really good too. Mercury Comics, the ads are all in the back. Keeps the story going. Nice. The flow isn't interrupted by some big ad. But with the ads in the back, it actually makes me interested in what's going on. They're kind of like, the commercials at the end of the movie.
Well, Image does that, or did that, didn't they? Or somebody did that?
Yeah.
And that was always cool to me. It was like, then it was a treat to look at the ads instead of being pissed at the ads because they're interfering with your comics. It's amazing how, I know personally, I pay more attention to the ads when they're all in the back than
I do
when they're intermixed with the comic. So
Yeah.
Because you have a tendency to don't want the interference, so you purposely ignore them.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you just bypass them just so you can continue reading your story.
ABC was the same way, I think, right? Went for a while.
Which it seems like that's what it's going back to now, because even Marvel has released a statement stating that they're going to do that now.
Yeah. Well, I just read. Was it this issue of the day after for House of M that has all the ads in the back, or a lot of ads in the back?
Yeah, that one has a lot of ads in the back.
Something I just read from Marvel did.
Right.
Yeah, they addressed the issue after they received a lot of feedback from having all of those ads and that Honda ad, that double spread ad in the beginning and such.
On page 2 and 3.
Received a lot of negative feedback in that, and they responded immediately and said that that selling ads is something that they've been fortunate to do because of their notoriety that they've there's a lot of people coming to them to sell ads, which of course helps produce the books, supports the book, but
helps produce the books, but sure as hell doesn't lower the price on the books.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, let's wrap this. So this
But anyway,
episode, the other thing too is on Newsarama you can read issues 1 and 4 of Atomica completely for free, all of it. Check it out, give it a read if it interests you. Find it in your local comic shop. Go to mercurycomics.com. Check the link. You can get the issues off of that site as well. And we want to thank those guys for sponsoring this episode.
It looks top quality. I mean, there's just no two ways about it.
And he's putting his heart and soul into it. I mean, this guy, he tried to market it around himself and the book around to DC and Marvel, and they just weren't interested in his style. And he said, well, if you're going to do it right, you got to do it yourself, and that's what he did.
All the more reason to support him. He didn't quit. Hung it out.
All right, a reminder that for information on this month's Book of the Month and this month's contest, both of which are sponsored by Discount Comic Book Service and InStockTrades.com, you can go to our website for complete details and click the links and read all up on it. Contest, it's now almost the end of the month, so be sure to get your entries in by the end of the month because you can win $100, so get on it. I want to mention one thing. One of the guys on our forum, Matt S., has started a Frapper map of local comic shops that are cool. So if you go, you know what, I didn't write down the link, but if you go on our forum, you'll find the thread called Local Comic Shop LCS Frapper map. And so people are going and putting the name of the comic shop where it's at, only if it's a good store. Just if you shop at one and it's crap, don't put it on the list, because this is supposed to be... Peter, you might need to refresh that, because it's new. I don't think it was up there when you were looking at that. No.
Dead air.
Oh,
Yeah.
You blew it.
You blew it.
All right, the link is www.frapper, that's frappr.com/CGS LCS locator, and that's all one chunk.
Cool.
Chunk of chunk.
Another reminder to go to comicbookdb.com and start entering comics. Last time I gave you the challenge for every listener to enter just 20 books, which won't take you but 10 minutes, and then if that happens, the amount of comics on that site will jump by 40,000. So let's get on it.
Yes, sir.
If you get your books on a Wednesday, just put them all in.
There you go.
Your new books, if you get a handful that you can do,
Right,
that'd be fun.
that's a good idea. Okay. Should we do some emails?
Sure.
Let's pull some emails. Hopefully we have some emails here waiting for us. No, I have them all.
Please, when don't we?
I have them all marked. All right. Holy mackerel. Okay.
You asked for an email.
That's right.
Yeah, got a book.
This one is from Scott Rubin. And he says, I thought your discussion of whether or not comic shops should organize their store by genres was interesting. Personally, I would love to see the comic shop sort by genre. I don't read that many titles, and I'm always looking for new ones. A genre-based organization would help me find new things I might like, without having to see so many things I won't. Alphabetical order is okay, but it really hurts people who know nothing about comics because you have to know what you're looking for. It is also impossible to find something new with alphabetical order. Also, despite my preference for genre sorting, I would still like to see new releases in their own area. On Wednesday, on my way home, I need to get in and out fast to catch the train, and finding new stuff fast is important. However, something you didn't mention is that Marvel and DC are so big they control the comic shop, and they definitely don't want genre sorting. The reason is that with the publisher sorting, someone who buys one title will have all the other titles from the same publisher right there. One thing you might find interesting is that in Japanese bookstores, there is very often publisher sorting. However, when it comes to Japanese manga, there are a multitude of publishers. Some are bigger than others, but all of them associate with one genre. A company who publishes manga in multiple genres will create multiple publishing labels to keep the genre separate, i.e. Ribbon, Shonen Jump, etc. All publishers also print their manga in the same size format and same cover style, so when you see a shelf full of white manga with pink stripes on the bindings, you know which publisher it is, and you know it is shoujo manga for girls. You also know which weekly and monthly compendiums to buy because each one is associated with a particular publisher. The same kind of thing happens in the U.S., where DC spins off Vertigo to print comics in a different genre, but it's not the same. I didn't really understand that last part.
Neither did I.
So, I don't know. Now, the one thing that I don't like about his argument is that the Marvel and DC don't want genre publishing. Well, they don't inspect comic stores. They don't have any say over what, you buy your comics from Diamond, you get your discount based on how many copies you order, and that's Marvel and DC have absolutely no say in how you arrange your shelves.
Yeah,
so.
It's not like a grocery store where you get representatives from the different companies coming in and setting up their own shelves and putting the end cap up and all that kind of stuff. It's however you want to display it. If you want to stick all your books in the back of the store on a pile, you can do that. I mean, but I don't see where that argument even comes into play.
And as far as the separating the new comics, I hate the separating of the new comics, but what our shop does is has little tags that they put in front of the new releases. So they're on the shelves in the regular place where they would always go. They just have a little tag, so you can easily identify what's brand new, but then they're right there next to everything else in the order that they're supposed to be in, and it's not confusing. Because the Why I'm Missing store used to have them on the separate shelf, and that was always annoying, because you're like, oh, number 37... Wait, I never got number 36. Then you got to walk over on the shelf to go find where Amazing Spider-Man is, to find if you need, to find issue 36. And it's like, that's stupid. You can just put them all together and have the little tags. So that solves that problem. I'm still for alphabetical and not genre. Because the more we talked about genre, the less I liked it.
Yeah, and I think it might be interesting maybe for like a local retailer to take a couple trades, not all their trades, maybe a couple trades, and say, hey, if you like this, then maybe you'll like this. But you have to create a display space for that. And I know most places have, some kind of, they don't have much room, but
limited shelf space.
I would think something like that, like even a retailer, maybe at the counter, near the counter, like to the side of the customer, maybe just say, hey, like say the new Walking Dead trade comes out that day. If you like Walking Dead, then maybe you'll like that, and that. Like just spotlight one genre, maybe once a week. One day horror, next day sci-fi. If you like Adam Strange, maybe you'll like Fear Agent. Things like that. I think there's a way to at least sell your stuff. Get those trades out of your store. But the genre thing starts to whittle away.
Too many lines are blurred there, and Gets confusing.
Yeah.
Now, if you had so many copies of each book that you could have the alphabetical shelf and the genre section in the back, now that would be great. But, I don't think many comic shops can afford to have that many copies. All right, we got another one from Michael Bice. I'm going to guess that. I've been listening to the show for a few weeks, trying to keep up and take in the occasional back episode. I've really enjoyed the Book of the Month episodes, although my favorite episodes have been those with the coked-up Grant Morrison fan, that is Jeff Clock. I have also enjoyed the interviews with Gerard Jones and Mark Evanier. Keep it up, guys. I just listened to episode 73 today on my way to work. The definition of trades came up. Regarding trades, the publishing definition of a trade paperback is one that cannot be stripped. Stripping a book is the procedure by which a bookseller can tear the cover off a paperback and send just the cover back to the publisher in exchange for credit on the book as an unsold copy. This is why mass-market paperbacks have that little message about the book being stolen property if it is missing the cover. Traditionally, trade paperbacks are of a larger size, but they don't have to be. If you remember, or even knew about, White Wolf Game Studios' fiction line, not the game tie-ins, but the other stuff, I believe it was called Borealis. They were all trades, but were mass-market size. Because of this, the phrase, "this book is not strippable," was printed on the inside cover because booksellers would probably assume it was a mass market due to its size. Anyway, I enjoy the show. Keep it up. Well, there you go. There's our lesson for the day on
Got a new wrinkle.
Trade paperbacks. And let's see. This one's from Kevin Summers. Hey, geeks. In light of the unfolding events of Infinite Crisis, do you think you could talk a little about Planetary and the nature of the multiverse? Things are clearly happening in the DCU, and up until recently, I thought there was no connection to Wildstorm. But with Captain Atom being sent over there, now I don't know. I know that in Planetary, the original Crisis has been mentioned, and they also had a crossover with Batman. I'm not expecting to see Elijah Snow show up next to Nightwing, but it does seem like the reflections we are seeing in Identity Crisis 2 are very similar to Planetary Snowflake. I'm probably just reading too much into this, but there definitely seem to be some similarities. Peter, you're shaking your head.
Wait, we all were shaking our head,
Yeah,
not
all
just
of us
me.
were.
No, I was shaking my head too. Yes, you are reading way too much into this. I mean, I honestly don't believe the original Crisis was mentioned. I believe a Crisis was mentioned.
Nothing in specific.
Yes, I'm about 4 or 5 issues behind. I have to get those together and read them. But Planetary's always taken just slightly askewed characters, like your Doc Savage type character and these type characters, and go on with that. And I think that's more along the lines of the Crisis they were talking about. You have your Fantastic Four type characters and all that, but I don't think they were specifically mentioning DC's Crisis. That was my take on it.
It's been too long. I haven't read those in so many months. I couldn't even tell you.
I'm in the same boat.
Now, he's right. Captain Atom is over at Wildstorm, but I think it's to generate something in the Wildstorm universe, not particularly to combine them with DC. I think that's what their big plan is. I've read the first issue, and it wasn't horrible. It wasn't anything that set the world on fire. But we won't find out what that is for a couple months.
All right. You want to move on to our topic of discussion?
Which one do you want? You want to do the jump right into the biggie, or go
Whatever
through
you
the?
want to do.
I thought maybe we'd start off real quick and just look at the October sales that came out. That CBG put out. There's some kind of unique things that happened with the October sales. So I'm just reading this. This is all released by CBG, and I had the guy's name, and I didn't print it out. Oh, here it is. CBG calculations by John Jackson Miller. Initial reports provided by Diamond Comic Distributors. Just to let you know where this is coming from. It said they released their monthly direct market sales chart, Diamond did, and market share report, and this month the titles went on, this is for October 2005. Of course, DC's Infinite Crisis was the #1 top-selling book. Diamond Index figure of, let's see, I wanted to just hit some important things. Hold on there.
Come on.
Hold on.
Come
Here
on,
it is, here it
doggy,
is, here
come
it
on.
According to the analysis, 2005 is now projected to be the 5th consecutive year of overall sales growth. Comic books, trades, magazines, they're looking to shape up to be almost a $352 million year, up 7%. Look at that. From $328 million from 2004. So it's a 7% increase. They said, it's not a double-digit gain, but it's better than where they were in a couple other years where, by the end of the year they kind of taper down or... and it definitely beat anything that went through the 90s. And here it says when there were minus signs attached to everything. So a nice, even a small growth is good.
Well, it's
especially
interesting
if it's
that it's
consecutive
5
year.
consecutive years to have consecutive growth in the entire industry is something to be said.
So looking at some things here, we have DC. The biggest thing is DC managed to lead Marvel in every single category calculated by CBG. That's top 300 comic units, dollars, top 300 comics, and plus top 100 trades, and even in the overall category. DC's market share was 39.2. Their dollar share was 36.96% of the market share, where Marvel's unit share was 37, and their dollar share was 32% of the market share. The last time DC did that was in August of 2000. So that's a long time. And they do make some comparisons here where at that time, in August of 2000, DC had a total, when it came to the top comics, of 98 compared to Marvel's 49. Like the output, they had 98 titles compared to Marvel's 49.
Right.
And currently it's around 98 to Marvel's DC has 91, Marvel has 78 titles. So, and that flips a lot.
DC has that many titles.
Yeah, when you consider all the miniseries.
Consider Vertigo and ABC.
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
Wild
Sounds
Story.
like a lot.
And they said that number changes a lot. There was a time when Marvel was the one, especially in the night. Marvel was the one that really had a lot more titles out than DC. So now it's flip flopping. Let's see, where's some other things. DC had 80 first time items in October. So that's the first time they were on that list. Where Marvel had 69 first time offerings. So that just gives you an idea of how much input is coming out. In the top 10, Infinite Crisis was number 1 with 249,000 units. House of M7 was number 2 with 134,000 units. And then the rest of the top 10, New Avengers 12, Justice 2, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 1 came out at number 5. Uncanny X-Men 465, Villains United number 6, number 7. JLA 120, 8. At number 9 is Amazing Spider-Man 525. At number 10 is JLA 121.
How many copies was X-Men selling?
Uncanny X-Men, 84,000.
No wonder they're pimping the hell out of the X-Men.
And Amazing Spider-Man, 79,000. The first Ultimate book you get is Ultimate X-Men at 12, which is 75,000.
Which is followed right behind by Ultimate
Ultimate Spider-Man, yep, 74,000. Ghost Rider number 2 went from a top 10 book to number 19, which they always say the number 2s drop off drastically.
Usually cut them in half.
Yep.
Number 3 is usually where you find the real setting
numbers.
for.
Yeah. Which, it just goes to show that obviously retailers over-order on number 1s. They just do, because they never know. You never know if it's going to go through the roof or if they're going to sit on it and you're going to find it at a convention.
Hence the reason why they do number 1s.
Right.
It sucks, but it's the numbers are there, and that's why they do it.
And also, for the longest time, you got to remember what Marvel's reprint policy was. They wouldn't reprint it.
Mm-hmm.
They just wouldn't, and they'd come out with those stupid must-haves where they'd stick a whole bunch of other crap that you didn't want in it. But so they're the mentality of the retailers now is, order heavy on the number ones, especially with Marvel, because if you catch lightning in a bottle, you don't want to get left behind.
And when you start to go further into the top 300, I have the top 100 list in front of me, but you start to see how things just really, they just drop off. Wonder Woman's down to 31 now, and she was higher up the previous month. Captain America's down to 37 with only 45,000 units.
See, doesn't that piss you off that X-Men sells 75 and that awesome Captain America book is only selling, what did you say, 35?
45.
45?
And these are ordering copies. These aren't actual sales. So, this is...
The thing I always look at when you see numbers like that, in that comparison, how many people are reading those 70-some thousand copies of X-Men, and how many people are reading those 45,000 copies of Captain America?
And Daredevil, by the way, is right under Captain America at 45,000 even.
So, it just goes to show. There's...
I know, but it's disappointing when a book, like those two books, for example, and the same sales numbers, and they're so good, why aren't they selling 100,000 copies? Because they deserve to be selling 100,000 copies because they're that good.
Now, in the flip side of that coin, there aren't many books that are above it that I think are either junk or don't deserve to be there, and of course this is all opinion, but, JSA... Young Avengers, Teen Titans, a Superman book. Superman should be high up, Batman should be selling. But then you got Wolverine, that's 73,000 copies. And so there are...
Publishing Wolverine?
Yeah.
Still publishing Wolverine?
Sure. Why?
I didn't
believe
they're really actually pushing the next storyline now.
Oh, that's right, because it was the... Never mind, I was thinking it.
Because you have the hardcovers. I was just wondering, that's the whole Mark Miller story.
No, I forgot for a second. I was thinking because they restarted at number one again, right? Or did they?
No.
Well,
no?
No, not now. No, they're continuing on. They started at number one. It was like 3 years ago.
Rucka?
Yeah, Greg Rucka.
Yeah.
They did
when
that.
It moved
they did
to Marvel
that,
Knights.
And then it switched to what Mark Miller. Took over.
Yeah.
And now it's
I
think
know,
it's
I
Daniel
just
Way
had a momentary
and
lapse of reason there.
Javier
blanked out.
Saltaris and Mark Texiera doing the art.
Yeah, I think for this
which is a big
post
decimation House of M story. Dealing with the events of House of M.
I will say they always say we don't say anything good about Marvel. I really did enjoy, and I didn't think I was going to, and I had forgotten I'd ordered this, but I ordered the very last Mark Miller story of Wolverine. I ordered it, and I looked, I was like, do I really want to read this? And I did, and it was really, really good. And the story behind it was kind of cool too. It was basically a storyline that took place with Wolverine in a concentration camp, which I'm thinking, Wolverine in a concentration camp? But Mark Miller said he had the story in his brain, and he just couldn't figure out exactly how to do it. And he sat down and he got to meet Will Eisner, I think either at San Diego or down in Florida somewhere, at a convention. He told him about this, told him he was having trouble figuring out what to do with this storyline. And Eisner went away, and then he saw him like the next day at breakfast, and Will Eisner sat down and said, I figured out your problem. Will Eisner sat down, talked him through this, and he put this story out, and it is a really, really cool story. I want to tell you, go out and get it and just enjoy it, because it is a really cool, very Twilight Zone-ish. I really felt like I was reading an episode of Twilight Zone, but I know we're off course here, but I've been holding that one up for a little while. Holding that in, so I feel so much better now. But anyway, just
that whole 12-issue run was phenomenal.
Yeah, his run, that was good. I did enjoy that.
Wolverine's a great character, but it's something that he's so washed out and overused. Mm-hmm. It's not interesting that much anymore. And to have him come on and to do a 12-issue run in the book, and that book was strong, solid, and a fun read.
Plus great artwork too.
Shows it can be done, but shows it doesn't need to be all over the goddamn place either.
Yeah.
The first non-DC Marvel book is Spawn at 45. It was Spawn 150. Sold 40,000 units. The first Vertigo book is, guess which one it is?
Fables.
Nope.
Why?
Why the Last Man at 72. Wow. 26,000 copies. And if you're a fan of Marvel Team Up, that's down at 93 with only 21,000 copies sold.
Get everybody you know to buy it.
That book is so good, too. It's such a fun read.
Well, when Peter was telling me some of these numbers before, and I think, that should be a top 10 seller for Marvel, because if you think about, the root of all superheroes, or it's just a fun superhero book, that should be in the top 10.
See, I don't know if I'd say. I mean, in my opinion, I enjoyed the book. I don't know if I would realistically see it in the top 10, but I would think at least in the top 40. That it's because it uses a lot of the obscure characters. He's using a lot of the 70s Marvel characters and such, and not a lot of people at this generation know those characters.
Right.
So it might not be a big a draw for them.
I mean,
that's their loss, because I think it's it's Marvel's resurging a lot of their older characters, and Robert Kirkman is utilizing those characters in these books and making them fun. And there's not overloaded with continuity or anything like that.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because like some of these books that are in Marvel, that are high up in Marvel, I think some of them are House of M or Decimation tie-ins. But then you have like something like Century Number 2 is at 30, Exiles is at 42. Still, a popular book. Is Marvel Team Up better than Incredible Hulk 87 at 40? Just trying to.
That to me is like, I don't see Exiles being at 42. I'd see Marvel Team Up there, and I would expect to see Exiles back in where Marvel Team Up is.
And Runaways is at 70 with 26,000 units.
It's interesting when you review these numbers
to
see.
New Thunderbolt 67. Conan is the other non-DC Marvel book. That's at 52. Dark Horse's Conan. And under that are things like Green Arrow, Birds of Prey, and as you go down the list, New Thunderbolts, Defenders. A lot of these miniseries like X-Men, Colossus, Thor, Blood Oath, Batgirl at 69, Powers at 73. And then you're really... Hawkman is all the way down at 84. Firestorm, 86. Aquaman, 87. Catwoman, 48. Black Widow, 94. And there's a Devil's Due at 96. G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes Declassified. So...
Ex Machina, is that what?
89. 21,000 copies.
See, those books that's close to the chopping block, man. It makes me nervous, and like that's why I feel that, Marvel should be pushing the hell out of Team Up, because it's so good and because it's just...
Which is why I think you got that issue with him teaming up with Invincible.
Yeah, to get the crossover crowd from the Invincible
start pushing
readers.
Some other readers to keep that. Because I feel they do want to keep that book alive. I feel they realize that there's a lot.
They've been doing some publicity, but I still don't think it's enough. I just think it...
I don't disagree with you.
Now, the list that really surprised me was the top trade list. There are some small numbers on some of these. Like, I'll go by... it's a top 100. I have the top 50. I'll just pick one. Cable Deadpool Volume 3, The Human Race, 1,900 copies. Tomorrow Stories Book 2, 1,500 copies. Seems like a small number, but I don't know. Number
again,
one,
but your overhead running those is not like printing issues.
True.
Because you already have everything bought and paid for.
Yeah.
All you're doing is reprinting.
And then they'll just do another print run when they sell out.
Right. So
because nobody cares if it's first printing or second printing or 18th printing. It doesn't make any difference.
Right. So that's something that they can always go back and make more copies.
But that does seem like a very small amount. Like, would you say what was the one that sold 1,000 copies?
I don't have that. That was like all the way down at 100. I don't have that one. But it
what's at number 50?
Tomorrow Stories, Book 2, 1,500. Number 1 was Vertigo First Offensives, which is...
It's because it was $5, right?
Yeah, it was $4.99, and it was a collection of different random stories. 6,800.
But number ones of issued
Mm-hmm.
ones, right?
And then number 2 is Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures, Volume 4, $6.95. Dark Horse, 6,500. First time you get a Marvel book is X-Men Complete Age of Apocalypse, Book 2, which was $29.99, 6,000 copies. Green Lantern Rebirth was number 4, the hardcover, $24.99, 5,900 copies. The Watchmen Absolute Edition hardcover, $75, was 4,800 units.
Wow, that's pretty many units for a $75 book.
Wow.
And the Batman Under the Hood actually was number 7, 5,000 units, $9.99.
That's because it was so cheap.
It was so cheap, yeah. You got 2 Essentials, the Spider-Man Volume 7, Werewolf by Night. Showcase is the highest showcase on this one. It was the only one that came out that month. That was number 11.
Which showcase? You said
Metamorpho.
Oh, you said Showcase is the highest showcase.
Right, and that's why I said, but that's because it's the only showcase out there.
Showcase is the highest showcase.
Identity Crisis hardcover, 3,400.
See, now, they're right there. Let's pause on that, right? Because that book should have higher sales. And if they hadn't waited so damn long to release it, I think they'd have higher sales on that.
But like you guys were saying,
What book was that, Honey? I
Identity
zoned out for a
Crisis.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you
So
can
that's been over for
constantly
how
order
long
these
now?
books
Over
though.
a year, and
Yeah.
it was a huge DC event, and people
Well,
were.
they only reprinted each issue like 3 or 4 times. I mean,
Well, I know, but I mean, it's like
because they sold out.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. But I
Yeah.
mean, wouldn't that prompt you then to want to get a trade out of it then? Because I mean,
see, it just seems like you wait a whole year to release the trade, and then you only sell 3,000 copies.
I mean,
of
to
it.
me, rather than reprint each issue 3 times, reprint it twice. Get your first printing, and if it sells that well, do a second printing, and then since it's only a 6-issue mini, 7-issue
Seven, yeah.
miniseries, as soon as it's over in a miniseries, then release a hardcover. I bet you would have sold at least twice the amount of that.
That's what I would have thought.
Then that would be my mentality of it. I thought.
Well, Dan Duty is the one talking about getting people into the store.
Well, they'll get in the store to buy the trade.
Well,
I don't know.
but
Whatever.
trades live longer. So I mean, although that was the initial sales, who knows what in 3-4 months is that going to sell more than the Quitter hardcover, which came out higher than it did.
I mean, I can understand on an ongoing series, but for a miniseries,
Once it's over, it's over.
it's over. So I mean, you can release that, and
Especially when it was. See, and the thing that bugged me about that is they were still doing, crucial things. Like if you read JLA, it was all about that crisis of conscience before Identity Crisis. I mean, Infinite Crisis was all tied into Identity Crisis, but the hardcover hadn't come out yet, so you couldn't. If you missed the issues, you were screwed. There was no trade, and so now you're trying to read monthly JLA, and you have no idea what's going on because you can't read Identity Crisis. Like, that's what I mean. Like, they should have had that trade out before they started that JLA run. That just pisses me off. It's
kind of like
stupid.
putting cart before the horse kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously, they knew they were going to publish that JLA story. Obviously, they knew it tied into Identity Crisis, so they couldn't have slapped together the hardcover.
So you figure
Couple months earlier?
depending when that JLA story came out, if it was 2 months afterwards, 3 months afterward, that would be a perfect time to release the hardcover then.
Yeah.
Well,
and
here's
it
a
was like 6
hardcover-
months afterwards.
Oh, well,
so it was like plenty of time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It
see,
just
that-
seems like you're kind of screwing the readers there because maybe even those third printings, maybe they're sold out, and now you decide to get back on JLA and you go, oh, shit, I don't know what's going on.
Because
It's your own
sometimes.
damn fault. Get your ass back into the store.
Well, I
That's
mean,
all
but then
say.
again, you get into the scenario where you have multiple printings of issues, and people go buy them just for the sake of getting the covers.
Peter.
So, I mean,
I did all of them.
it doesn't always mean that you're
I think I
bringing
missed
new
one.
readers in on those books.
Exactly.
So somebody that goes in and wants to picks up like 3, 4, and 5, and wants to get 1 and 2. Well, even third printing's gone because it has a new cover, and everybody went in to buy, their third printing of the third issue of that. So it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't completely compute.
There is something, and maybe like Chris at the Collected Comics Library or somebody could let us. I mean, there is something that obviously that we don't know. When it comes to their trade policies, they're not just holding off because they're holding off. You know what I mean? There's got to be something to it. Just as that one retailer, and we said this before in another podcast, where the guy that we talked to down in Pottstown, where he said he doesn't like when Marvel put out their. So it's something. There's a give and take that we don't know what it is, and there's a happy medium that
Right.
nobody's doing, but
Which I think,
we don't know.
Right. I mean, I think
Because don't forget, DC doesn't need their money from their trades.
No. But it's not about needing the money from the trades. It's about appeasing the fan. I think 6 months is plenty enough time to
more than
wait
enough.
after you're done releasing something before you can trade it.
Well, after the last issue was out, I think it was about another 2 months, and then or maybe even more than that, where they did those final red cover printings. So, I mean, again, they brought it back into the stores, and they sold too. They didn't sell out, but they sold as well. So people who missed it the first time could pick up all those then. So there's obviously a reason why. I mean, they wouldn't just.
Well, like you said, there is a happy medium. I feel there's no reason to wait more than 3 months. But it doesn't have to be out the next month after it's over. I don't mind that, since especially.
Well, yeah, for you
I
guys
buy
who
all trades,
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool because then I know that after that miniseries is over, I can read it within the next month. But for something to wait a year or so, I just think is
It's entirely too long.
totally. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand. I'd like to know. I really would. I'd love to find out. See if there is some actual rationale behind it that we just totally missed the ball on. But
and
at this point, common sense doesn't point to anything like that.
For that month, DC was putting out some very high-priced trades. With the Absolute Watchman, with the Quitter. I mean, there were some very that's part of the reason why they took the top spot when it came to trade sellings. But obviously, their trade strategy is not that bad if they're taking the top spot. You know what I mean? And it's only going to get better from what we heard from some announcements.
Which I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I will read more DC stuff, but it's hard to keep track of it. That's the thing that I find the hardest thing of it all, is that I can't keep on top of all this stuff, And then finally, when they do release a trade, well, which issues was this now? Where does this cover? And I got to research and find out about it. Whereas if it's 2 months or so behind, it's still fresh in your mind, so to speak, and I find it easier to order than at that time. And I find I do miss stuff because of that. So
just got to stop buying so much Marvel.
Jesus.
All right, hey, before we go on to our main topic of discussion, we have another 5 minutes of manga.
Oh.
So, here we go.
You're listening to 5 minutes of Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Manga Man, or Charlie, giving you your second dose of manga. Today, we'll be discussing the Eisner Award-winning manga by Hiroki Samura, Blade of the Immortal. It's a historical samurai action, bloody drama with tons of hacking and slashing and revenge and blood and gore and death and blood and blood. And in case you're wondering, blood. So before I get into my review of this book, I just want to explain something that I think is important to know about this book, is that the swastika plays a major role as a symbol in this series. One of the main characters wears it on his robe, and it's prominently displayed on the back of his robe. It's not in reference to the Nazis. In fact, it refers to what the swastika originally was, which was the crux gamata, or in Japanese, manji, which is actually a symbol of well-being. I just kind of want to let you know that because I think it plays an important role. So the plot of Blade of the Immortal, it takes place in 18th century Japan, and as I said, it's filled with lots of blood. The story begins with the introduction of one of the main characters, Manji, a samurai outlaw, malcontent rebel. But Manji, what a lot of people don't know is that he has a secret. He is immortal, thus the Blade of the Immortal. A wacky 800-year-old nun has filled his body with holy bloodworms that repair any damage done to his body, so he can't die. Nope. And Manji makes a deal with the nun if he makes up for all of his past crimes by slaying 1,000 evil men, she'll remove the bloodworms from his body. That's kind of starts up the premise of the book, and then Manji then meets Rin, an innocent young woman who is seeking revenge for the murder of her parents, and begs him to help her hunt them down and defeat them. And of course, he wants to, because this could lead to his 1,000 evil men removal. The art on this book is amazing. Just jaw-dropping beautiful, with a nice dash of grotesque and blood and lots of dismemberment, which can be a bit much sometimes, kind of ridiculous sometimes, but it's also just amazing just to see this guy draft that and draw that. There's lots of great battles, and the battles always seem to culminate from swift panel movement to basically a frozen single or double page shots that are just these giant sweeping shots of blood and gore. They're always gorgeously rendered. The art is actually crosses from pencils to inks, and then also to some sketchy pencils as well, or inks with pencils, and sometimes just inks by themselves. The series is laden with a lot of creative and colorful characters that Samura has created, and most oftentimes they're very over the top and these inventive creations. The writing does definitely explore some grim, bloody, and violent territory, and it moves at a fast pace. I mean, you're going to fly through each book at just a breakneck speed, and you won't want to put the book down, at least I didn't. They range from about $15 a piece, and you usually get, I think, about 150 pages in each one. Now, I've heard many people say that this book is nothing but an action-paced revenge story told in, brilliant bold swipes of hardcore action and violence, and I think that that's true in some case of the word. But I think that this book actually works a lot deeper if you want to look and find what Samura was going for, and I think has placed through the story, which is symbology that he has placed so prominently, the manji, the swastika. And the fact that the character wears one on his back that is both black and white, it really gives a yin and yang feel. And if you look at this story, it's filled with the opposites of yin and yang throughout the entire book. First off, the two main characters. Manji is definitely the black side of the yang. He's dark, he's killed over 100 people, and he just can't die. He's just relentless. Rin, on the other hand, is innocent. She's beautiful. She's good. She has a good heart. She's trying to do what she feels is right. And he continues to explore this theme, I think, with these two characters throughout, and even exploring it with the peripheral characters that you meet, both giving you their good sides and their bad sides. So it's a real broad exploration of the theme. At least I think. I don't know if it was conscious on his part, but I found it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. So I can't recommend this book enough. It's well worth the read, and by the end you're going to want to hack and slash and let out the little samurai in you. Or something like that. Before I go, I just want to say a big thanks to Bri, Peter, Jamie, Matt, and Shane, you guys. You haven't heard from me because I had no idea that my cast was picked. I had come back. I hadn't been listening to Geek Speak in a while. I hadn't gotten my fix. I just came back recently to listen to it this last week and discovered you had picked my cast. That was very exciting. And I also want to tell you that because of you guys, I am now become addicted to podcasting, and I actually do my own podcast. My friend Mr. Phil and I host a show that's geared just towards independence. And we have some great interviews on the show. And we're doing a bit right now that's really fun called Dialing Ditko. We're trying to hunt down the great Stephen Ditko. Oh, yes. So if anyone out there wants to check out the podcast, it's indiespinnerrack.blogspot.com. That's indie with an I-E. Thanks, Geek Speak crew, and thanks to everyone out there listening. And I'll see you guys next time on 5 Minutes of Manga!
Gotta love that intro.
No, that's funny.
5 minutes of
Manga!
All right, what are we talking about, Peter?
We're going to talk about graphic novels. Now these, what I mean by this is in the 80s, and DC and Marvel put out a whole line of books that were larger than comics. They actually named them Marvel graphic novel or DC graphic novel, and then they, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then eventually
magazine sized.
Yeah, and eventually it all shifted down to comic book side, or prestige format probably is the one that
I was just going to say that's how these are published, the square-bound prestige format, but they are the oversized magazine size.
So the first, we're going to talk about DC because they had a smaller output.
I know.
Excuse me. There were 7 that I could find. I don't know if they had any more, but every list that I looked at on the internet, there were 7. They started off with Star Raiders by Elias S. Magin and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez in '83. They followed it with one called Warlords. Number 3 was The Medusa Chain, written in and the art by Ernie Colon. Number 4 was Hunger Dogs by Jack Kirby, and that one was probably the most important, I guess you can say, of all of them.
Well, yeah, that one tied in with his whole New World and the New Gods and all that.
They asked him to come back to put a cap on his whole New Gods run from the 70s, and he completed it in this graphic novel, and they have since returned to it. So a lot of the stuff in it was later changed, but that was probably the most high profile of all of them. Number 5 was Me and Joe Priest. Number 6 was Metalzoic. Number 7 was Space Clusters. And then Julia Schwartz edited a line that was based on a lot of the sci-fi creators and writers, and they took stories from like Robert Bloch and Robert Silverberg, Ray Bradbury, Harlan Ellison, Larry Niven, and they created graphic novels based on those stories. The first one was Hell on Earth, written by Robert Loren Fleming, art by Keith Giffen. There was one called Night Wings, which is the Robert Silverberg one. Ray Bradbury did one called, they based one on his Frost and Fire. Merchants of Venice, Demon with a Glass Hand, Magic Goes Away, and The Sand Kings. They were basically always like $4.99 or $5.99, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, 5 to 6.
Yeah, this Hell on Earth was $5.95. They always were, for me anyway. When I saw them, I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" They just they weren't comic sized. They let the art really just show some what an artist can do with the bigger sizes, and they're not quite tabloid size, Treasury edition size, but they were interesting stories.
It was neat that they went into the sci-fi realm and did a different thing. And it was kind of interesting that they didn't really do any of their characters. It wasn't like their main characters. They didn't delve into making these solo stories, these larger format, usually about 64-page stories of their main characters.
Other than the Hunger Dogs, yeah.
Right. So,
does anybody remember any of the DC ones? The Star Raiders ones was an Atari Force takeoff. They were going to release it with the as a miniseries first, and then also in line with Atari's output at that time. But then Atari crashed and burned, and they decided to put it into a graphic novel, and it went from being like a 100 and some story, and they had to wrap up. They had 78 more pages to do, I think, of the story, and they had to wrap it up in like 19.
Wow.
So they just decided they didn't want to lose the Garcia Lopez artwork, so they just put it into this format. The only ones I've read were The Hunger Dogs. I read Me and Joe Priest, which was written by Greg Potter, art by Ron Randall, and the Hell on Earth one.
I read The Magic Goes Away, the one that was based on the Larry Niven story.
Mm-hmm. Jan Dursema.
Yeah. I've seen them, but I've actually never read any of those.
No.
Which they were good.
I've wanted, since I've gone back and read all of the New Gods, I would like to track down a copy of Hunger Dogs and read it, so I can see how Kirby wanted to finish it.
I don't see these much at conventions, but maybe eBay. I don't know what kind of prices you're going to get for them. If there's something that interests you.
It'd be interesting to see what they are selling for.
Yeah.
Although I am starting to see, you were talking about the treasury size. I am starting to see more and more of those pop up. I think people are getting rid of
good prices on them too.
Yeah.
They're selling for some good money.
Yeah.
And that's something my dad got me for Christmas last year, I believe. He picked up like 3 or 4 treasury editions, and they were in near mint copies, and I think he forgot and left the price tags on, didn't realize it, but they were anywhere from $15 to $25 a pop. And some of them were actually, I think there was 1 or 2 of them that were actually $40 to $50 a pop, which was a little high. But on eBay, you can, just depending on the one, you can expect to pay $25, $30, $20, somewhere around that area for a near mint copy.
So some of these, if you're interested in something that moves away from superheroes, this is what your graphic novel line for DC basically was. Original stories outside of their universe.
Well, if you know the history of Julie Schwartz, that's what he did. He was an agent for a lot of those early, like Ray Bradbury. I'm pretty sure he was his agent, and so
Harlan Ellison.
Ellison, yep.
He had his foot in the sci-fi community. So to get these guys to do it for him, that wasn't too hard. It's just like, hey, it's Julie, you want to do this? Yeah, Julie, I'll do this for you. So
yeah, right. And then we come to Marvel, and they had 38 at least numbered graphic novels, and then they did a whole bunch after that weren't numbered but were titled. And this, they really played around mostly with their universe.
Yes.
The biggie for me was always the first one, Death of Captain Marvel in '82 by Jim Starlin. I'll just read a few and then we'll go back and talk. The New Mutants, number 4. Number 4 was The New Mutants, which was, the origin of that team. Number 5, X-Men God Loves, Man Kills.
The second X-Men movie.
Yeah, that was based on that.
Number 9 was The Futurians, Dave Cockrum. Number 12 was Dazzler the movie, which at that time was pretty big.
That disco, woo!
Surprisingly, Sensational She-Hulk in '85, John Byrne, that was number 18. Amazing Spider-Man Hooky, that was 22. They did even Alien Legion came out of this. There was a Conan one, Death of Gru, Cloak and Dagger, Hercules, Silver Surfer, and there's just so many of them. So we brought a whole bunch in, and anybody have a particular favorite that they enjoyed? Were they because they were outside of like comic books, were they not more adult, but were they more, I don't know, serious, or did they mess around with what they were able to do with it? Or
I think it was just a way for them to tell stories outside of continuity. without having to worry. I mean, there was still continuity there, but they didn't have to worry about a lot of what they did bleeding over into the books. 'Cause, I mean, I know my favorite one was of course, being a Byrne fan, was the She-Hulk one.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
And I wanted to get that in the worst way. I had such a hard time finding it. Finally found it, read it, and it was just so good. But it doesn't really have anything to do with, because She-Hulk was in the Fantastic Four at that time.
Well, you can't say that though, because this is the issue. This story is where she has to go in and exposes herself to radiation because of the Shield helicarrier crashes. So that this story is where the Shield helicarrier got destroyed.
Yeah.
And then she went in, where the reactor was, that had to stop it because it was all them roaches and all that stuff, and got exposed to that radiation, and she could no longer change back to Jen Walters anymore.
Okay.
So and that did continue then from into the actual comics. So a lot of the stuff did follow through with continuity. However, there were things that they were never mentioned, or they did just mention it. It didn't actually fall into, like the Spider-Man Hooky one with Bernie Rice, and that was actually, I believe it was 2 months in every Spider-Man book he was missing.
Okay.
So you would have maybe the Human Torch and Black Cat and people like that show up and fight, and they were all talking where's Spider-Man? Nobody knows where Spider-Man is, and that was the tie-in that you would buy Hooky. And this would explain why he wasn't in his series and such. So there were stories like that. But then you get into Emperor Doom.
Emperor Doom, yeah.
Living Monolith. Things like that. That weren't so much continuity based or springboard off of afterwards. But I feel that they were mentioned at periods. But that's basically as far as they went. Yeah. And then there were some stories that were never even touched upon as far as continuity in anything in it.
Yeah, I guess the Doom, there was they did some hardcovers too out of that too. They did a Doom Doctor Strange and
Triumph and Torment in '89.
That was good.
The Chaikin
Scorpio,
the Scorpio Connection
with Wolverine and Nick Fury.
And those did. I mean, I know those had some effects into the books themselves.
Yes,
because that was. I'm pretty sure that Doom Doctor Strange was one of the first times they put Doom into really the whole magical realm with his mother, and his mother was working the dark arts and all that kind of stuff. So they were all usually pretty good. That was the whole thing. They usually got top talent to work on them, and it was a nice showcase for that that talent.
Yeah, I mean, some of the writers, Roy Thomas, Chris Claremont, Walter Simonson did Star Slammers in '83. Rick Veitch did Heartburst, and that was the 10th one. Some of the artists, Jackson Guise on Swords of the Swashbucklers.
Mike Kaluta.
P. Craig Russell. John Bolton did the art on Murata the She-Wolf. Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz did Daredevil Love and War, which was number 24. And then when Jamie was talking about the hardcovers, you had Jerry Conway and Stan Lee writing Spider-Man Fear Itself, and Archie Goodwin writing the Kazar Guns of the Savage Land with art by Howard Chaykin. Charles Vest did Spider-Man Spirits of the Earth hardcover.
That was a beautiful book too.
Yeah, that was.
How was the Squadron Supreme Death of the Universe? Did that take place with the miniseries at that time?
I remember reading it so long ago, and I have it sitting over there. It takes place after the miniseries, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, you could put a gun to my head, I cannot remember that much about it. I looked at it just before we started up, and trying to remember it, and I may have read it, and truthfully, I may not have read it. I know there are a couple in my pile that I did not read. I've just picked up over the years and shoved on a shelf. But it takes place after the miniseries. So if you like the miniseries, I would definitely suggest going out and trying to find that.
And it's called Squadron Supreme
Death of the
Universe. Mark Grunwald, Paul Ryan. Al Williamson.
It was basically the team that did the miniseries.
Right.
So.
It's funny. I have the Gru one. And, it was 87, so I was in 7th grade, and I remember, reading that it was coming out in the letters pages and being like, oh, I have to get this. Oh, but it's $6.
Yeah.
I have to save up. That's paper boy money for a week there or whatever, and it was a big deal. And then to have my parents let me spend $6 on a comic book, even though it was big. It was like, and now you look at this and go, $6?
Yeah.
Oh, if only they could be $6 for new ones now. It'd be fantastic.
I mean, you look at this Jackson Guice. Is it Guice? Am I saying it right?
Geis.
Nice.
Butch
Yeah.
Guice. This artwork on Sword of the Swashbuckler. I mean, this is
Beautiful.
early.
Yeah, that's
You
his
know.
stuff before he became in
Right,
mainstream
we're
with
talking.
Marvel. That was early 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's before Flash and all that.
Yeah. Doctor Strange and all the
84.
stuff that he did.
And look how still good it is.
X Factor too.
Yes,
Yes, he
yep,
did.
He did.
Yes, he did. I mean, this is like even better than that stuff, and it's like almost 2, 3, 4 years earlier.
Yeah, I have one of his other graphic novels that he did for, I think it's a Southern Nights, which was an independent comic,
Okay.
and that's one of the first books that he worked on, and that was produced in a graphic novel as well. I think it was reprinted. I think there were issues that were reprinted, and beautiful, just beautiful stuff. I know I have 2 of the Silver Surfer hardcovers that were put out. One was by Stan Lee and John Buscema, and I think the other one was done by that's Stan Lee and Keith Pollard, the Enslavers, and then there was another one that was done
Judgment
with,
Day?
Judgment Day was Stan Lee and
That's
John Buscema.
89, and the one that he has
This
is
one's 90 right here.
90? Okay, that's one.
But there's another one too that Joe Jusko I think did.
It's not on my... I mean, this is not, by all means, it's not a...
complete
I mean, the numbers
I didn't
up
bring
to
my
38 is
hardcovers along,
complete,
but I have
yeah.
a hardcover that it has the Joe Jusko did the Silver
Mhm.
Surfer, and the cover is just gorgeous. I mean, it's just beautiful. And that one, actually, the Enslavers is a really good read.
I don't even remember why I bought. I think I just was like, wow, there's the hardcover book. I gotta get it.
And I have the one Punisher one, which was done by Mike Zeck
Mike Zeck.
and who is it? Stephen Grant, which was at the time was when they were popular doing the Punisher miniseries,
Mhm.
and so this was a separate story.
Well, he's got 3 of... I mean, there's 3 here. That one even isn't even listed on my list, but it's Punisher Assassin's Guild in 88 with Joe Duffy, pencils by Jorge Zafino.
I have that one. That one's not that good.
Punisher Kingdom Gone, story by Chuck Dixon. And then there's a Punisher Intruder story by Mike Barron, pencils Bill Reinhold.
That one I have. That one's not too bad. And then
And like I said, this isn't complete, so obviously they were capitalizing on him.
that story that Stephen Grant and Mike Zeck did, the team that did the miniseries, was Return to Big Nothing. Is that what it's called? It's a good story. Just it's if you like the miniseries, that's just as good, if not better.
I mean, the cover on that one that Jamie's looking through, for me, at that time, that was Punisher.
Oh yeah,
Obviously now...
you saw that everywhere.
Sure.
because that was that Zimmerman, that guy was airbrushing Mike Zeck's artwork on a lot. They did Captain America posters.
Oh,
and
he
Punisher
used to
posters.
sign his name Zim, right? Just
Yeah.
Z-I-M-M, I think.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
they were like a collaborative team on a lot of things that this Zeck and
But
Zimmerman.
that image you could get posters,
Uh-huh.
T-shirts, everything. That
Now it's the Steve Dillon Punisher that's in my mind. At that time it was that guy. And now
But for that, I mean, that
Zeck.
was groundbreaking. You didn't see
Oh, yeah.
artwork like that. To see the airbrushed artwork,
yeah,
and
exactly.
Because actually, I think that was like right after the miniseries came out that they came out with that book. That was like the follow-up to the miniseries, almost. I mean, it
cover
wasn't...
pages on it. I know one. I have to. Talking about ones that we really. This was in '89, and I think the miniseries was '86.
Okay.
So it was.
Well, the biggie is Death of Captain Marvel. I mean, that one was just...
Talk
about a wrap-up of a story. It's akin to what Kirby did with Hunger Dogs. It's wrapping up... Jim Starlin wraps up his...
And it was so wonderfully done. I mean, and it had such an amazing impact. I mean, it was just, you just didn't expect it. You thought, well, Death of Captain Marvel. I know when I bought it, I was kind of like, well, okay, Death of Captain Marvel. It's just a storyline, And then I read the story, and it really kind of choked me up a little bit, how well it was done. And then I realized, son of a gun, he's dead. I mean, you just kind of, at the time, they didn't follow through with a lot of that stuff. So to
And has been
actually
dead.
kill a character.
And one of the nice things is they kept him dead.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they have his son in the universe now and all that.
Because I've always been a Captain Marvel fan. I loved the Jim Starlin Captain Marvel and the Adam Warlock stories. And
there wasn't much action in that. I mean, there were a few... one or two battle scenes, but they weren't like major battle scenes, or the one was in his mind.
yeah, some was in his conscious, yeah.
But it really was about the character interaction and just the way the Marvel Universe treated or looked at, the other heroes, the way they
the
approached
impact
them.
of
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you had the great final image at the end. And
Because I remember, like, when they were all coming up and they were all transported to the place they were at to pay their last homage to him, homage to him, and Spider-Man's the one that walked up to him, and they teamed up a couple times, and
Couldn't say anything.
he couldn't say anything. He started crying and walked away. He just couldn't. And it was very powerful, and I thought it was, and especially be their first one. They came out with a bang with that one.
Have any of these been reprinted since?
Yeah, I know that Death of Captain Marvel is reprinted.
Well, that
I
one
think
is,
like
but
5
I mean,
or
some
6.
of the other ones I never even heard of them, and I just
I think some of these other ones. It's only the ones like I think the New Mutants one was reprinted.
Yep, and the X-Men.
God Love
and the
Man
God Love
Kills.
Man Kills.
yeah,
was
the
reprinted.
version I have is the 8th printing of it.
So
But
8
they
printings.
actually put it in a smaller comic-size version,
Yeah.
too.
I was just wondering, maybe they'll do an essential Marvel graphic novels or something.
Hey, that's something to put out there. You never know.
It also kind of goes back to that whole thing we were saying about, where are the original graphic novels coming
Yep.
from? Like I can understand some of these could be, maybe some of these ideas that then became miniseries and,
Right.
and prestige size one-shots. They did a lot of those, like Black Widow and Moon Knight had a prestige one-shot,
Right.
things like that, but they're smaller. But these bigger ones, they're...
I think there's a market for
I
it.
think there is. DC does it a lot with Vertigo. They put out a lot of hardcover one-shots that aren't any kind of story. I guess they do with their superhero books too.
I mean, even with DC doing the oversized ones with Paul Dini and Alex Ross,
Oh yeah,
they're phenomenal books, and they're bigger than these,
and they're $10.
and they're $10. So it shows that they will
Right.
sell, and they can be a market for them. And Marvel didn't slack on the talent, when they did
No,
these as well either. So if you put good talent on it, do an original story, they will sell.
Well, it's like when we had the JLA Heaven's Ladder thing or whatever. It was
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Hitch.
Brian Hitch, and it's like it wasn't Alex Ross, and it was still beautiful, and it was still
Right.
$10, and it still sold.
Yeah, put Alan Davis. Do an X-Men story with Alan Davis.
I mean, in
or,
that format, I think you got to have a good artist because
Right, it's getting
you get a
magnified,
larger, it's really in your face, and so if you don't have really good art, it's really going to show. But a lot of these were really, really good artwork.
Bernie Wrights and
Well, and as a consumer, it makes it exciting. If they're not releasing one a month, if it's like 2 a year or something, it's like, ooh, this is cool. I want to get it. It's exciting, especially if it's a series that you're reading. I mean, I can only imagine if they did, I don't know, an oversized Marvel team up thing or something.
Right.
The way that it's hot right now. Well,
But-
for us anyway, that would be exciting.
I mean, what would you do if you had something like this now, and they would put like the story like the Spider-Man the Other,
Right.
instead of having it in the books, release it as an original hardcover.
Right.
But the continuity from the books is going to pick up after what happens in the graphic novel. So it gives incentive for readers to buy it, but it also is a different format, and I think more people would read it as well.
Well, and
It's beautiful.
look at DC's when they did the
the
JLA JSA with Carlos Pacheco. Did we all buy that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I just read that not too long ago.
And what was the JLA, the one with Frank Quality?
Earth 2.
Earth 2 thing. That was cool. I mean, I love that stuff. I think it's great. I miss these graphic novel formats.
Yeah, me too.
I like it in a hardcover, but I think the prestige format are really nice as well. One of the ones that I found was kind of not so serious, but still a funny, enjoyable story was the Hulk and the Thing graphic novel written by Jim Starlin and drawn by Bernie Wrightson. And it was just this funny story. It's the savage Hulk, so it's the not too smart Hulk and the Thing, and they get transported to this other world, and there's this beast, and I don't want to tell the whole story, but it's just the interaction between them and the aliens and the other creatures they come up with is there's a decent amount of humor in it, but it's still kind of a good story. And when there's the climax of the story with the main villain and the battle is a really good battle, it's really drawn well and very impactful. So it has everything to it, but part of it's just kind of a nice, fun read. It's a nice change of pace out of what you would have read in the comics, but it was still a good story.
Yeah, I would just love to see them do, just like we said, the JLA, JSA, just do something different. Bring this out, bring it back, and like Brian said, it doesn't have to be every month.
No.
Maybe once, twice a year, just get somebody together. I mean, I remember reading that The Power of Shazam, when they brought Shazam back, and they had Jerry Ordway do the lead-in story to the series was a hardcover original graphic novel, and it was great. I picked that up, read that. I mean, you had me hooked with Shazam to begin with because I'm a huge Shazam fan, but it was a neat way to introduce the way he was going to do it, rather than taking up 2 or 3 issues of the ongoing series. He could jump right into the ongoing series. You would still understand it, but for those of us who invested in the hardcover, you got more. You understood just a little bit deeper where he was going and where these characters came from. And I'd love to see that for some of the other series that they're going to launch, or like Kevin said, I mean, if they're going to do a special big crossover like the other, why not come out with, even a prestige format book each month if they want to spread it out, rather than putting it in the ongoing title and messing up, like we were all complaining about, messing up
Peter
David's launch of a new Spider-Man title. They wouldn't have had to do that. He could have launched his title, boom, boom, boom. Once the other was done, they could have maybe had a special issue in each one where they dealt with the ramifications of the other, and then going on from there. So it's something that's out there. I guess they're starting to come back. I mean, we keep reading now they're going to start annuals again next year. Some of the not everything, but they're going to start annuals on a limited basis. Marvel had a great launch with their Ultimate annuals, which all sold out.
And they were very good.
And they were all good. They did
because it wasn't no-name artists and writers doing small stories. It was the same either or.
Same writers with just a different,
Well, I was just going to say, if Marvel's first tabloid-sized $10 thing was an Ultimate title, it would sell out,
right?
Or at least it would have very high sales numbers. And so, because Joe Quesada keeps saying, "Oh, Marvel can't invest the money into releasing an original graphic novel."
Right.
Well, then it doesn't need to be a hardcover for $29.95. It can be one of these tabloid things for and it's only what are they 64 pages or something like that.
The average graphic novel that they published was 64 pages.
Yeah.
So I mean,
people will buy it. The novelty of it alone.
It's a 3-issue comic.
Yeah.
So I mean, like Frank Miller's Man Without Fear was supposed to be a Marvel graphic novel, but as he and John Romita Jr. were doing it, they kept getting better. More things kept coming up, and next thing you know, they were up to 120-some pages, so they decided to do it as a 5-issue miniseries. But
which other ones, just so we can, if people out there aren't familiar with, like Dazzler the movie, which I know it sounds funny, like Dazzler, they did a graphic novel called Dazzler the movie. It was Jim Shooter. It actually had another effect where she was outed as a mutant,
right?
And then it all of a sudden it became a little more public, the whole thing about mutants. And I do remember in the X-Men they kind of even once in a while would say something like or even in the Dazzler book,
right?
The mutant thing kind of jumped up.
It was a good read.
Now, was that a graphic novel before her series?
No, that was in process.
Okay.
While her series was going, this was published at the same time.
I never read Dazzler that
I used to
closely,
get it,
so I just couldn't remember. And that wasn't a slam. I'm just saying I never read Dazzler.
Because I got into Dazzler because she was in Amazing Spider-Man and she was also in the Claremont Byrne X-Men. So when they put her out her own book, I thought, well, I'll check it out. And I read a couple issues, and then they put out the graphic novel, and I bought that, and it was all right. But then it withered away. I mean, they didn't know what to do with the character, so it just.
Well, she was like a one-trick.
Well, that's why, that's why they did this to maybe boost some. And the cover was great. It was Bill Sienkiewicz's cover, and the story actually wasn't horrible.
Oh, it wasn't
I didn't think it was bad at all.
One of the ones that I feel was a strong read was the Revenge of the Living Monolith. I thought that was a great.
That was one I always wanted to read and never got around to.
That was. It tied in. It wasn't just. It was with the Marvel Universe. Period. I mean, it wasn't limited to a certain character or so, and it was a widespread, dramatic battle. I mean,
David
it was just,
Michelini story and pencils by Mark Silvestri.
Yep.
Wow.
1985.
It's a good one. It is a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
the Daredevil Love and War was a great one. That's Frank Miller Daredevil, with Bill Sienkiewicz art. So even if you don't like Bill Sienkiewicz art, it's still Frank Miller Daredevil, and it was a good read. It had a great. It added stuff that he did in his runs in Daredevil with Kingpin and his wife, and just a damn good story. So,
did you ever read The Raven Banner?
No.
A Tale of Asgard?
No, I've seen it again. Thinking about it, more I'm thinking about these going back in my memory. I mean, this was a time when comics were 60 cents, 55, 60, 65, 75 cents. So for me to invest, like Brian was saying with the death of Gru, for me to invest $5.95, $6.95, I was just my first jobs, and I was
You were picky.
You were what, 30, right?
Yeah, I was 30 when this happened. Yes, person still living at home.
Slam.
Bam.
But
Do we want to start this? Do we want to start playing snaps?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't want to start it. You started it.
He's getting all red.
You started it. I'm just coming
Mine was
back.
in love. Yours was in venom.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh yeah. And I'm
If only
sitting right
Matt
between
was
both
here.
of them, so I gotta watch. But
Finish your thought.
But no, it was
Go
just.
ahead.
Yeah, I had to be very selective about what I picked, and the She-Hulk one was because I love Byrne, and I was just really getting back into comics, so I didn't know a lot of these people. I didn't know the storyline and stuff like that. Now that I look back on it, I would really love to find some of these, even if I'm paying $6.95 cover price or maybe a little higher at a show. I would love to find these, pick these up, and just start rereading them or reading them, the ones I haven't read.
I have a feeling that these are, when you find them at shows or on eBay, I think you're going to find them for $5-10.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to make a huge investment, but for what you get out of it, I think it's well worth it. I mean, I'm just looking over the list and seeing ones that we didn't touch upon, that something that pops out at me, and there's one that I didn't get that I would like to, was a Shadow one that Marvel produced, the Shadow called Hitler's Astrology, written by Denny O'Neil, art by Mike Kaluta.
Yeah, that was
what I mean?
absolutely.
Great.
I
Yeah.
remember that one, and that was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that one, and
Mike Kaluta's work is awesome.
I know, and with Denny O'Neil writing it, it's got to be good.
Yeah, he had,
Cloak and Dagger, I'm a big Cloak and Dagger fan. So Bill Mantlo, the guy that created and wrote the Cloak and Dagger, wrote that with art by Larry Stroman, which from X Factor fame,
Right?
and
Yeah. And Tribe.
yeah,
Tribe.
I'm sure he's trying to forget that too.
That was his book, man.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
3 issues.
The Inhumans, written by Ann Nesenti, and art by Brett Blevins and Al Williamson. That was a good one.
I'll give a link where I found the Marvel ones. It's at gallery.stlcomics.com/MGN, which stands for Marvel Graphic Novels. That'll give you a breakdown of all the ones that I have here on the list. The DC ones weren't as many, and you can you could probably just do an eBay search DC graphic novel. Maybe they'll come up.
Yeah. Doctor Strange into Shambhala, written by James DeMatteis, or DeMatteis, however you pronounce it, with painted art by Dan Green. So they really did invest into these, and I really do miss them. I mean, I bought, as you can see, the stack I brought in, I bought a lot of them, and I loved them. I just thought it was a great format, and I thought it was well worth the $5 to $8 you paid, because of the talent you had on it, Yeah. So if you can, check them out. Look on the list and see what speaks to you. If there's something you haven't read or whatever, they're definitely worth checking out.
All right. Well, let's do a phone call. And we're gonna, for the last time, we're gonna call Mario, and this is it. He
Again?
promised me he's gonna be home. So this is it.
Are we taking odds on this?
Yeah, really. While he's
Yes. While he's
Well, I was going to say, while he's doing that, check out Comics Podcast Crossover number 3, hosted by Bruce R. with Chris from the Collected Comics Library, Mike from Most People Are DJs, and special guest Lena of I Read Comics. It's out right now. It'll be out by the time you hear this episode. Check it out. They give a shout-out to our forum, so I
Hello?
give a shout-out to them.
Oh, it's still ringing.
Hello.
Salute.
Hello?
Hello, Mario.
Yes.
Mario! Oh, my God.
Mario.
For like the 17th time, we finally got a hold of you.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going all right. What's going on?
Well, we're just, talking comics.
Yeah.
You had
I'm
your phone?
actually at play rehearsal right now.
For what?
I'm actually doing a holiday-themed murder mystery, actually.
Cool. Where do you live?
I live in a town in northwest Virginia called Wheeling. It's just about an hour away from Pittsburgh.
My aunt used to live in Wheeling.
Did she?
Yeah. We
Sorry
try to
for her.
forget about it.
So
What
you're
are you guys
not.
talking about?
We were talking about the old Marvel and DC graphic novels from the 80s. Did you ever? Were you around then?
I was around then, yes.
Okay.
But I was just getting single issues back then. I was pretty much a subscription kid back then. I was getting like Spider-Man and stuff in the mail.
Cool.
There wasn't any kind of area around me where I could go get comics. So.
So What are you reading? What'd you pick
What am
up
I reading
last
right now?
What'd you pick up last week?
Last week, Hellblazer. It's like Crisis last week? No, that was the week before.
That was the week before, yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man. I can't remember.
That's quite a different, varied list.
I'm a Vertigo vixen at heart, but I'm also a Marvel zombie, and I read everything. Since I got out of college and I actually have a job and money, I pretty much pick up everything.
Cool. What's with the Vertigo Vixen? Where did that come from?
I don't know. I just heard it for the first time on when you guys had whoever on talking about.
Who said it?
It was a viewer email with these. I thought she said about it was a girl, and she said whether you're this or a Vertigo Vixen. And the guy just picked up on it, and called himself a Vertigo Vixen.
Yeah, and I've taken it to heart. I have accepted my Vertigo Vixenness.
What does your girlfriend think about that?
She loves it.
Yeah,
because man, that's chick stuff right there.
She a Vertigo Vixen
my girlfriend
too?
actually listens to the show.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, she likes the show. She loves you guys.
What's her name?
Her name is Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
She's not there,
Jen.
is she?
What's that?
She's not there, is she?
She is not here. One second. But actually, she listens to this. There's something I'd probably like to say to her. Hey, Jen, I know you're listening to this, and I know it's probably been a few days since I've said this, which is kind of weird because there's going to be some kind of weird interim of time lapse, like a time flux, I guess. But anyway, I love you very much, and I think we should start a little geek family together. And I just wanted to know if you would marry me.
Whoa! I knew it was coming.
Are you serious?
Wow.
I'm damn serious.
Wow.
Oh
Damn.
man.
Now there's going to be this interim of time.
Now, if she accepts, are we in the wedding
it's like
party?
a Hang episode. You know, I've traveled back in time to ask her to marry me, but she won't know for days.
Yeah.
And then she'll hear it, and I'll probably be at work or something.
Well, this episode is going to air on Monday, the 20.
Whatever.
What's today?
21st.
A week from today.
28th.
A week from today.
Yeah, 28th it'll air.
I will be around her then.
So you
I
have
will
to
make
keep
sure
us. You have to keep us in
the loop.
to see what the answer is.
Oh, I will keep you in the loop.
Now, if
She's going to say, "What the hell were you doing?"
You proposed me on a damn Comic Geek podcast.
well, I have to admit that makes it worthwhile that we finally got a hold of you and we made the extra
Absolutely.
attempt to get you this time. So.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
Are we also going to be there on the honeymoon night?
What's that?
Are we going to be there on the honeymoon night, too?
If you want, is this Peter?
Yes.
If you want to, Peter, I could probably arrange something.
I'll just be happy for pictures or a video. That's fine.
See, now
Come on, we can't sully
now
this.
she's gonna say
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah, now she'll regret it.
No.
New York Con probably.
Say yes. That's all I'll say.
And
Say
definitely
yes.
the Pittsburgh Con. 'cause
So if
that's
she
when they
says yes,
Pittsburgh
are we
Con.
in the wedding party then? Is that?
What's that?
If she says yes, are we in the wedding party? Is that?
Actually, is anybody ordained, or can you get an internet ordination?
Oh, we
you
can
guys
get
could probably
something,
marry
I'm
me.
sure. It's not hard. You can do it online.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like $25. I'll pay for it.
So you do go to the Pittsburgh Comic Con?
Yeah, I do. Although this year, the following week is the Toronto Comic Con,
Oh.
and supposedly Stan Lee's the guest of honor.
Oh.
And Stan Lee on the East Coast, I don't know. I might not be able to do both. I might have to go to Toronto. But I've never missed Pittsburgh too, so I'll probably do both.
Well, we're talking about going to Pittsburgh next year.
Yep.
Pittsburgh's awesome.
2006.
It's a great little show, and there's always tons and tons of guests, and a great big indie alley, and it's a good show. I mean, I know you guys went you guys are saying it's been years since you went though.
Yeah, I've always wanted to come out there and check it out. I've always used to look at the guest list every year and see Gil Kane on the guest list. I gotta go. And
Gil
then,
hasn't been
then he
around for a
died.
few years.
And so I ever regret not going out there when I could have.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a good show.
But
Cool.
You should definitely come out.
yeah, well that's
We'll get some permanis.
it's on our radar.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone's to feed us when we get out there.
there's nothing wrong with that.
You don't want to pay for one meal.
Food and
you know-
drinks.
and it's right across the street from the Monroeville Mall, which is where they filmed Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, I know where that is.
And every year they have Dawn of the Dead tours.
Yeah, I remember that.
My best friend used to live on the south side, so I used to go there a lot.
When I
That's
met
where
my
best friend
ex-wife,
lives right now.
she lived in Shady
Wait,
Side.
say that again, Maury?
I'm sorry.
My best friend lives on Southside Pittsburgh right now.
Oh, cool.
I used to go out to Shady Side all the time. My ex-wife, when I met her, lived there, so I used to be out there every weekend.
Yeah.
And then we used to go shopping at the Monroeville Mall, and that's when I found out that it was where they filmed the movie.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I got to get back to practice.
Okay. Well, good luck,
I don't do my
Mario.
lines.
Well, I'm glad you were home. Yeah, good luck. Let us know what's going on.
Yep.
All right, I will, absolutely.
All right,
Thanks a lot,
man.
guys. Good talking to you.
All
Take
right.
care.
Same here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that might be a podcast first.
I was going to say that's.
As soon as he said that, I'm thinking like,
Same here.
he's gonna ask her to marry her. I thought,
Get out.
and then I thought, well, maybe he's just gonna tell her he loves her. That he
yeah.
didn't talk to her for a couple of days or something. But I thought, nah, he's gonna say it. He's gonna say it, and bang. That is a first,
I swear,
man.
I was only kidding about the pictures and the tapes.
Yeah,
no.
right.
Come on, Jen. What do you say? What do you say?
Yeah, we're anxious.
I'm I can't imagine what he's going through now. I mean, I'm in suspense for a week.
You know, you gotta wait a week
I know.
of all the things.
Oh,
I mean, you know what I mean? That's something that is so.
And you know what? It'll come Monday. The episode will be out, and she'll probably be like, "Oh, my iPod battery went dead. I have to recharge it."
I'm tired of listening to this damn
Yeah,
show.
I won't get to it till tomorrow.
She'll
but
listen to it like
tomorrow
in
I have to-
January
I have
or-
to go on a business trip tomorrow, so I won't be able to chance. So maybe Wednesday or Thursday, he'll be like, "Listen to the freaking episode."
Wow, that's amazing.
That was cool.
Yep.
CGS wedding. Well, one of us might have to get ordained, and then
I think that might be taking
that'd
a
probably
little
be Matt.
too far.
I think that would be my vote.
You guys should have got her number and called her on my.
So.
Now it's your turn to be put in the spot, Peter. All right.
Salute.
I'm trying to. It's another Smallville. This is still for the all three
Companions?
Smallville companions from Titan Publishing.
I see you got your Lucky Charm with you.
Yep.
I
do.
All right. Question number 1. In Darkhawk number 1, what name did Chris Powell initially call himself when fighting mobsters after first transforming into his armored alter ego?
Nighthawk.
Edgeman.
It's like a razor shop.
You put the Lucky Charm up in your forehead.
That made my chakra point.
Yeah, so your third eye.
Question
Stick it in
2, the DC question.
There you go.
What was the name of Kyle Rayner's comic strip in Green Lantern? For the bonus, what comic book did it appear in?
Wow. No idea.
Was it? Nothing to do with Raul. Was it? What's that? Nothing to do with the coffee shop
Coffee
owner.
shop.
Raul or whatever. Ragu or.
The answer, City Dwellers. And it was appeared in Green Lantern Secret Files number 3.
Uh-oh.
Down to the last
Oh,
question,
boy.
Mr. Rios.
Dum-dum-dum-dum.
Question 3, Other. Geez, why can't I do another Marvel question? I'm a Marvel zombie after all. Okay, here goes. In Donald Duck number... Just kidding.
My balls dropped.
I saw this. I saw the blood rush from your face.
How's that doing?
In
Jelly
Craig-
beans.
In Craig Thompson's graphic novel, Blankets, what did Craig paint on the wall of
Like I read
Raina's room?
The woods.
It's close.
Forest.
He painted both of them sitting together in a tree.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ding, 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 ding.
We have a winner.
What's his name?
His name is Daniel Melendi.
Bastard.
So, Daniel,
Snail
you
mail.
get all 3.
Yep. Season 1,
Smallville
Season
Companions.
2, Season 3 from www.titanbook.com.
It's a hell of a
Yeah,
nice
that's a hell of a prize.
Yeah.
And you know what? The
Really?
Marvel question and the DC question were good questions.
Yep. You were fair.
Yeah, you can't say anything
So,
about it.
Well earned, my
Well
friend.
done.
So send us your snail mail. Now we got to come up with another prize. We'll wait about another episode or 2.
Yeah.
So all those, anybody who put in a stump the reels for the Smallville prize, they're just going to go into circulation now. If we need an extra.
Can they
stump the reels.
resubmit the same questions under the different contest if they want to?
I guess if they want to.
Just to let people know that that's an option now that somebody won.
Right.
They want to go for the next
When
prize.
we pick the next prize, whatever that is, and we'll announce it, and then you just put stump the reels for whatever that
prize is, and then you could resubmit the same questions if you so choose.
I'm downloading a voicemail right now, so
waste not, want not.
That is awesome. I don't know what the cover price is on those things, but I mean
I think they're like either $9.95 or like $11.95.
Wow, so a $30 prize.
Mm-hmm.
Good
well
score.
worth it. Well worth it for an email. You know what I mean?
All right, here's a voicemail. Any day now, please.
Hello, Brian, Peter, Jamie, Shane, Mark, Keok, Jason, Tiny, the whole state of Pennsylvania. This is Jackson Murdoch, and I've got some pretty interesting news for you. I haven't heard this on any of your podcasts yet.
Yes, we did.
It's a beautiful 70-degree day here, and I decided I was going to get out of the house and kind of get away from the whole house-selling environment that I'm in right now, and go out and do a little browsing. I got nostalgic and felt like being a Toys R Us kid. So I've gone to Toys R Us, which I haven't been to in probably about a good 5-6 months. And I was so pleasantly surprised. My wallet, however, is cursing me out. So what did I buy? This is what I bought. It's called Superhero Showdown from Marvel Heroes. It's called the Ultimate Action Figure Battle. On the back of it, it says, famous characters from the Marvel Universe engage in the Ultimate Action Figure Battle. Put your hero in the attack pose of your choice and use unique battle tiles, power cards, projectiles, and a personal attack and defense rating on his base to enact your battle. These powerful elements and your strategy help decide the winner of each battle. Collect them all. All right, you've got 2 starter sets. Wolverine versus the Hulk, Spider-Man versus the Thing. By the way, the Hulk and the Thing look great. I mean, absolutely great. Spider-Man and Wolverine, they kind of look like those old Micronauts figures back from the late 70s and early 80s. All in all, it looks like they took the current size Marvel heroes and put them in a pressure cooker. You still have all that crazy articulation, but just in about a size, at least for the regular size characters, not the Hulk or the Thing, they're maybe a little taller than the 3.5-inch G.I. Joe Real American Hero fig. Okay. Anyway, you've got those 2 starter sets. Those are $14.99 a piece. Then we have the booster pack, which is just one figure, each pack, each one $7.99. Now you've got Ghost Rider, Doc Ock, the Black Costume Spider-Man, the Berserker Wolverine, which is basically Logan, in a white beater and jeans, the Punisher, Human Torch, who probably out of the whole set most resembles a Micronauts figure, Doctor Doom, Spider-Sense Spider-Man, who has green eyes, it looks like, Iron Man, and Captain America. Of the ones that they had, I was really hoping for Captain America and the Punisher, but they didn't have those. They didn't have the Berserker Wolverine or Doc Ock, unfortunately. I was really hoping for Captain America the most anyhow, but it's a good thing, I guess. My wallet is, my wallet probably going into a coma at that point. Anyway, really, all in all, they look great. So if you're into the collectability of the figures themselves and not really into the gaming aspect, get them for the figures. To me, it looks like they just made action figures and combined them with the HeroClix type game system. So, like I said, they're wonderful figures. Whether or not you air this, that's not important. Just figure I'd pass on the love. So this is Jackson Murdoch signing off, and y'all have a real pleasant evening. Adios.
All right, I haven't bought any of those. Did you?
No, I didn't either. I checked them out. Yeah, I was looking at them, but
They look interesting. I just don't. I mean, it's kind of like the idea that you don't have the randomness of the HeroClix where you know what hero you're going to get. But I still, for playability, I like the HeroClix system. I mean, granted, I haven't played this system, but I like the smallness, the compactness, the variety that you have, and all that kind of stuff.
And for the price, for me, I look at it as I'd sooner buy a Marvel Legends figure.
Yeah.
So
Yes, 'cause it's at $7.99 you can get a HeroClix pack, and you're going to get 4 or 5 figures in that pack as opposed to just one.
right, or you can get a 6-inch Marvel Legends figure for the same
Yeah.
price. But
So-
I mean, they are kind of cool. They
Yeah.
are neat. They're smaller, like a 3 or 3.25 inch figure with the stand kind of thing, the pose, and
Yeah,
they're kind of a collectible for the size they are. But
I'm hoping maybe at some of the conventions you have this year, just like WizKids always has their little place where they're play testing. Maybe Marvel will have, Marvel having a stand, that would be that would be nice first of all. But maybe they would have somewhere where you'd learn how to play this. So
yeah, never know.
All right, well, that's going to wrap us up. Just want to remind you that this episode was sponsored by Atomica. Atomica, God is Red by Sal Abenanti. Number 5 ships November 30th. Number 6, December 7th. You can go to their www.mercurycomics.com, pick up the back issues, go to Newsarama for the full issue review of number 1 and number 4, and check it out.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
To send us an email, it's comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Check out our website, www.comicgeekspeak.com. Thanks to Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting the files, and a thanks to the guys at UpAllNightGaming.com for hosting the website. Pretty please vote for us at Podcast Alley. Just take a minute and do that. And reminder that we are brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com, your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.